What's up? You're listening to The Objective Jerk, and I am said jerk. I just recorded about 5 minutes of my podcast and then realized that, or I didn't realize it, but like all of a sudden my ears kicked in and I could hear myself, and I'm like, what the crap? I wasn't listening to myself before. I don't know what happened. So now I got to start all over. Yay. Let's see. Hope everybody's doing well. Had a typhoon hit us. I think I recorded my last podcast like a day before or something like that, before it came. And it wasn't bad because it was off the mainland. It was up north, but it got pretty windy. We had some pretty good gusts, and it was raining and everything all night. So, of course, lost power, branches are out and this and that. We have a generator hooked up to the house, so that's nice, but this time, though, man, it took a while for the electric company to get the power back on the house. It took almost 2 days, or did take 2 days, actually. So that was kind of annoying, because I gotta have my generator, man. I gotta have some power. I gotta have AC, man. It's not just the fan. I don't know. I just don't do well in heat, you know. And I think about that sometimes, like when the solar, I forget what they call it. It's not a solar flare, but a solar thing. You know, let's see. I'm gonna look it up. So in the 1890s or early 1900s or something, this happened. So the sun will spit out chunks of whatever the sun's made out of, right? And it's sometimes, if it's a big one, it sends out like radiation and various things that affect the Earth, and it has affected the Earth in the past. Knocked out communications on what is it called? When they used to do back in the day. What is it called? So you'd have Morse code, but it was, hold on, I can't remember what it's called. I'm trying to see if I can think of it before it comes up. Carrington vent. Geomagnetic storm. Okay, so real quick, I guess, for those that don't know, like I know all kinds of stuff. I mean, you guys, everybody's got internet now. So anyway, the Carrington event, right, was the most intense geomagnetic storm in recorded history. Wait, is this the right thing? Yeah, okay. Telegraph. That's what I was trying to think of. All right. 1859. Okay. It created strong auroral displays that were reported globally and caused sparking and even fires in telegraph stations. Coronal mass ejection. That's what I was trying to think of. A coronal mass ejection. So a coronal is a significant ejection of plasma mass from the sun's corona into the heliosphere. I was way off. CMEs are often associated with solar flares and other forms of solar activity. But yeah, so solar flares happen. But yeah, so this thing, took out telegraph stations and stuff so this is back in 1859. So just now, picture the same thing happening, but it's going to knock out satellites that are in its path and just everything that's digital technology, just done. I mean, it's not like forever, but for a while anyway. And it doesn't affect the whole planet. It just affects whichever. So whoever's in the daylight, at the right place, at the right time, when it hits, that's who's going to be affected. So, I think about that. What if that happens to us and we get hit and then we lose internet and power for a month or something, Can't use ATMs possibly, just things like that. It's just kind of crazy. So I think about that, and I'm like, what am I going to do when I have no AC? or I have to rely on my generator, which I wouldn't be able to run. I could run, yeah, 2 days is fine, but to run for a week or two or a month, there's no way I could have it run that long. That get pretty expensive, even for here. So it's like I'd have to pick and choose when I'd use it, maybe super hot times of the day, or definitely wouldn't have air conditioning until nighttime. And you would think like, oh, it's nighttime though, but it's still like, it's not as hot, but it's still so humid that it's just the air is so. I mean, you could, it's doable here if you have all the windows open and it's nighttime out and you got some good fanage going on. Like, it's possible, but it's just like I used to plan of having like a bunch of wall mounted fans, excuse me, in my room, like four, so my wife and I would have, but she doesn't really like having a fan on her. Like, she hates I have a fan, even though I got the AC on, I got a fan going too. I've always had a fan, mainly for the noise, but also I like it blowing on me. But yeah, so it's just was dealing with that, and I don't know, that is kind of a concern. If I have to deal with that would suck, because a lot of people don't have power around here. There are some people that have generators, but usually it's just businesses that do, which, okay, like our neighbor, they have a water station, so it's a business, so they have a generator. But most people that just like the house, they don't use a generator, so it's like I'm a little spoiled as far as that goes, I guess. And then we actually brought a generator over from the States. That was my dad's, and we bought one when we were here. The one that we're using for my house now is the one we bought here. It's Chinese or whatever, but I mean, so far it's been running pretty good. It probably needs it needs to have a tune-up though. And then the one that was my dad's, which is a Honda, is over at my father-in-law's, but the plug, so that one has, like, you could switch it from 220 to 110, but nothing here is 110, and it has a bunch of plugs for 110, but it only has one plug for 220. And that plug is not a common, is it a I think it's a 4-prong plug around here. So it's like trying to get one around here so we can plug in just his fan, just normal stuff in the house. I mean, it would power his house, but it's not wired to do that. So we also have like a little mini generator that we bought for when we go for All Souls Day at the graveyard. So we bring that little Japanese generator, to have lights and stuff while we're there. And so he was using that. But yeah, so so the storm hit, it was pretty gnarly. We went and got gas in the middle of the night, my wife and I, and it was a little crazy. There's some trees on the highway and this and that. But it wasn't, I mean, too bad. But what's funny is, like, it seems like when the storms are coming here and they're like, oh my God, we're gonna die, it ends up being such a nothing burger of a storm. And then when they don't really, like, oh, there's a storm, but it's going to be here, it ends up being worse. It's always the case, right? Drinking my, what is it? Post-workout stuff. I think it helps, actually, though, because I I've been working out now for almost 3 months consistently, and I haven't really been sore. I mean, not real bad, Anyway. So that's just kind of some of the crap that I've been dealing with. Still don't have internet. Obviously, I was trying to open up a web page there on my computer, and I forgot that there's no internet right now. Should come back on today. I mean, my phone, that's how I got that information. But, so yeah, I don't know, man. Starlink sounds better and better every time typhoon season gets here. Man, we almost got it a while ago, but anyway, how long have I been talking? I have actually some stuff planned to talk about, and I'm going on and on about Damn typhoon. Okay. Um. So let's see. So that's all that's been going on with me. Trying to stay busy, of course. I got some plans for after this podcast, but it sounds like it's raining. Although I don't think it's raining now. So maybe it's actually now is a good time to actually do yard work because it's not so hot, but then you get wet. I don't know. Anyway, Jimmy Kimmel, right? This is how retarded the left is. They are trying to make this whole thing with Jimmy Kimmel out to be an event that is equivalent to Charlie Kirk being assassinated. You know, Charlie Kirk is doing so much for the conservative and Christians and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Bringing people over and bringing attention to, you know, whatever. And then the left is trying to be like, oh my gosh, who knew Jimmy Kimmel was I don't know. I still think most of it's just manufactured. I don't think a lot of people actually believe. I know some people do believe it, but I think most of it is bots. But it's just like they're trying to make it like it's this big government shutdown of, you know, to silence Jimmy Kimmel, you know, when he has shit viewership. You know what I mean? Like, he's not popular. So, like, them trying to silence Joe Rogan being the most popular podcaster, you know, that's a big deal. And then you have the left where they got rid of Roseanne, the chick on Disney. I always forget her name. So many people that were canceled and they celebrated and, oh, it's so great. But then when Jimmy Kimmel, somebody on the left gets canceled or gets whatever, oh my gosh, it's First Amendment, and they start freaking out. And I don't get it. Do you remember back in the day when there was like a new talk show, like all the time? There was people, you had like, let's see, you had the normal Jay Leno, Arsenio Hall, but you had like people that started talk shows. And like the one that's like the most well-known failure one is Chevy Chase. So Chevy Chase did his own talk show, right? And they canceled it quickly because there was no viewers, right? Nobody was watching it. What's funny is the amount of viewers that show, the Chevy Chase show, was getting in 90, whatever it was that it came out. Let me see. Does it say? Oh, it just says how. Got more viewers than Jimmy Kimmel gets now. So it was like Chevy Chase was getting like close to 3 million viewers. Jimmy Kimmel gets like between 1 and 2, like 1 point something and 2 million viewers a night. Like that's it. Why is he still on the air? You know, what happened to people getting fired or getting canceled because, you know, their show sucked? That doesn't happen anymore. Why is that? You know? Like, and now they're like, oh, well, he got 6 million views when for his return back to see what he was going to say about the whole thing, and then that's it. Everybody got off. And then watch, his viewership's going to drop half, and then it's going to just keep continuing to drop back to where it was. The dude is done. It's going to get canceled anyway. But like, it's just so annoying how the left tries to just make everything about something it's not, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. And I know most of it is fabricated, but not all of it is, because I have my liberal friend who's he's saying the same talking points, you know? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm not going to get in this debate with you. I hate getting in arguments over on a keyboard or on the phone. You know, it's like that skit on Key and Peele, where he's like, "Yo, what's up? Are we gonna go out tonight?" Like the guy's like, "Are we gonna go out tonight or not? I'm waiting." Yeah, sure, that's cool, man. We can go whenever. We can go whenever. You know how you just kind of interpret. It's the same. I don't know. You can't have a debate over text and messaging. You just can't. I mean, it's pretty much impossible to do it in person with especially a leftard because they all they're doing is just anger and they just say all this stuff. Oh, he's racist, you know. It's just I don't know. All the people that had any kind of rationality and were open to debates have moved from the left and become center or, you know, slightly right. Anybody who's still left is just a psycho and needs to be in an asylum. It's just insane, dude. And then the other thing, so that's it for that. I don't know, let me know what you think. The other thing I want to talk about is like, I heard about this ostrich thing going on in Canada. Have you heard about that? So there's an ostrich farm in Canada that has currently 400 ostriches. They had more than that. I guess they had about 500. And they use them for testing, you know, I guess certain, oh crap, I read it. You know what? Here, let me just pull it up. Let me see if I can find something on it. I'll read here about it, a little background. Anyway, I'm trying to do like a briefing and then I'll read it. But so they do like some, not testing, like, you know, they do testing like perfumes and stuff like that. Like they're actually trying to do studies, that's a better word, on like bird flus and this and that. And then plus, not on all of them, I don't think. I think, you know, the ostrich farm, they can use, don't people eat ostriches? And I know they got massive eggs too. Have you ever seen, my parent, just on this little caveat, my mom, she used to have emus, which are kind of like ostriches, but they're smaller. And they walk around and they make this weird noise that sounds like a quad four-wheeler idling. Go, 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 go. They kind of make that noise in there. But they would lay these eggs that were massive, you know. And I remember the first time I saw it, we went there to visit my mom and her husband at the time, and so we're walking around. He's like, "Hey, let's look for some ostrich eggs, right?" I'm like, "Okay." Walking around, and he's like, "Oh, here's one." And he gets one, and it's just like this crazy blue, green, sparkly thing. I thought it was fake. I was like, "Whatever, dude." I thought like he found something or did. Oh, look at this ostrich egg, you know. And he's like, "No, this is it." I didn't believe him for a minute, but yeah, that's what they look like. They're just crazy looking eggs, and we cracked one open and made some, you know, an omelet out of it, and it was like just massive. It was crazy. It was like 6 chicken eggs in one, or more than that maybe. But the egg is really dense, like really hard. Or the eggshell is really tough. We used to have one because I remember I drilled the hole and, you know, let the egg come out to keep the egg. And we had it for a long time, but I don't know what happened to it, actually. I just thought about that. Anyway, so this farm, they had some ostriches that died because they got sick. They got a type of chicken bird flu. It's called something. I think I'll read it here. And so they, like 40 of them died or something like that. They separated them, but this was like a year ago. Now suddenly, the Canadian government and their equivalent to America's FDA or whatever want to cull but murder the 400 ostriches, you know. And okay, that's all I'm going to say. So there's like this big deal about it. They're trying to stop it. And of course, you know, the farmers, you know, that's their livelihood, right? But let's see. I pulled up some articles. I guess that's the first one. So I pulled up 3 articles. They all, I think I have them up because they're all say a little something different. Anyway, so here's a picture of the owner. It says Karen Esperson, the co-owner of Universal Ostrich Farms in Edgewood, British Columbia, celebrates with her family after learning a stay order was granted by the Supreme Court of Canada on Wednesday, delaying the cull or killing of 400 of the farm's ostriches. So nearly 400 ostriches on the Universal Ostrich Farm in northern British Columbia will be spared from a cull killing. While they don't say killing because they call it a cull because it's for medical or health reasons or whatever, but I call bullshit. But anyway, while the Supreme Court of Canada decides whether to hear the farm owner's appeal against the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, so the CFIA, which is like the FDA. Let's see. So there's a bunch of people there. There's lots of things going on over there. So it's like a big deal over there. So, you got people protesting and whatever, and they're all happy. And then, so here's a quote from the owners, like, our lawyer called the Supreme Court of Canada has granted us an interim stay, she posted on Facebook. The owners have been fighting the cull order prompted by an outbreak of avian, A-V-I-A-N. I think that's avian. Avian influenza on the farm in December of 2024. It killed 69 of their ostriches. So the CFIA's response was to mandate a cull of the entire flock to prevent the spread of the virus. But this happened almost a year ago. And they're just now... I guess this has been kind of going on for a couple weeks or whatever, but... So it's kind of weird, right? The agency said that the remaining ostriches may not show signs of the disease, but they could still be shedding the virus or be the source of further spread of infection to people, livestock, and wildlife. In 2024, it received 526 and only granted 30... Wait, what? I missed something. Oh, this is talking about the court system. Talking about the appeals and stuff. What will happen to the birds if the farmers appeal fails? Well, they'll get killed or culled or whatever. Dude. Okay, the SCC stay came... so the court, the Supreme Canadian Court stay came a day after Passatini and her mother Karen, co-owner of the farm, were arrested for refusing to leave the bird pen. They were later released. In a statement, they're not allowed on the farm. All their cameras have been shut off, so they can't even see if they're feeding the animals or they're killing them already. They have no idea, The CFIA served a warrant on the owners, told them to leave or they would be arrested. They say the ongoing battle to save the birds from slaughter has garnered widespread interest, including a battle through the court system, obviously. Protests and attention from prominent figures in the U.S., such as Secretary for Health and Human Services Robert Kennedy Jr. What is going on with my computer? It's like did the screensaver thing and it's not undoing it. Hello? I hate Apple, man. Apple products suck. What the crap? What is going on? What is going on? This was kind of like my light. This was my what do you call it? My whatever light that people use for recording stuff for social. There we go. Holy shit. What the crap, man? I hate Apple products. Apple sucks. All right. And that's why I got nothing but Apple crap. I hate it though, man. My wife, every time I'm like, you know what? Let's ditch Apple. And then when she has to get a new phone, she gets another freaking Apple, man. Which then means that I end up having to get it, and then it's so much easier to have if you have an iPhone. If you have anything Apple, it's better to have all Apple stuff, It just sucks. I hate Apple. Anyway, the farmers' court battle began last spring So last spring, this is when this all started, the courts that resolve legal issues, whatever, the court upheld the coal order made, deeming it necessary measure in the ongoing battle against the avian flu. The farm then appealed. The FC wrote in its decision that it recognized it might lead to the death of over 400 ostriches owned by the appellate, an outcome that would doubtless be difficult both financially and emotionally, no shit. But the law we are bound to apply inevitably leads to the conclusion that this appeal must be dismissed. Okay, I don't care about the details of the court proceedings. Let's see. I'm trying to skim over it. It's going into, but see, it's kind of a lot of bullshit. I thought I was going to talk about what else they do. Let me see what this one is. Oh, okay. This is the last one I wanted to read. Okay. Let's see. Man. Gosh. All right. Hundreds of ostriches. Yeah, granted the state. Okay. Ostrich plays garner international attention. Support from Robert Kennedy Jr. Already said that. Television personality Mehmet Oz. Who's that? Now the administrator for the Center of Medicare and Medical Services. The birds have not been... yeah, okay, so this is the other thing, which it didn't say in the last one. So the owners were like, okay, yeah, they may or may not, but like, why not test them again? And they won't test them again. And like, well, they could still be carrying it for whatever. But it's like, okay, well, how are ostriches... I don't know, because I guess, I'm not a wildlife disease expert, but it seems like most of these other people aren't either. But so I guess the ostriches initially got the flu from wild ducks that flew in, hung out in the pond, shit in the pond, right? And the ostriches drank out of the pond, but so they drained that pond to stop that from happening. They separated the sick ones, and I think the ones that were sick died. But then that was a year ago. So, what's the problem? The birds have not been tested in almost 10 months since 2 of them tested positive, so it was only 2 of them, for the avian flu, and roughly 10% of the flock died. The farmers have waged a high-profile social media campaign attracting supporters, some with anti-government views. Dozens of RCMP officers have been at the farm since Monday to assist CFIA workers. Now, see, high-profile social media campaign. This is why the government wants to minimize your social media. This is why you can't say whatever you want. This is why people in England are getting arrested. Yeah, right now it's because they're saying, oh, I don't like trans. But this is more control for the government to... Because look how many times things have been put out or information has gotten out and people have questioned and the government's been vilified and, all this stuff because of social media. That's why they want to, contain and get people off of social media that are anti-government, quote unquote, right? Supporters responded with cheer. Okay. The CFI issued a statement Wednesday evening that it will take care of the birds as it files its response to the farmers' appeal application as soon as possible. It also warned the public not to try to enter the cordoned off areas of the farm. Supposedly, they're not feeding them like they're supposed to. The farmers, the owners, are trying to tell them how to do it, and they're not really, they're probably hoping that some will die. Supposedly, they're they're stressing out the birds with like drones and some shit. I don't know. That could be all bullshit, but it just seems like they're, I don't know. I don't know why would they do that though? Trying to get them to just die from shock, I guess. I don't know. In the farm's application for leave to appeal earlier court decisions approving the destruction of the birds, they argue their ostriches have all recovered from last year's outbreak and pose negligible risk to nearby wild animals or other livestock, which I would, yeah. The ones that died, died and they separate whatever, but it's like that was a year ago. Why are they so concerned? Think about that. Put a pin in that. Why are they so concerned about these ostriches that maybe they did have the virus, but they were able to not get sick and die from it, and that was a year ago. Why are they so concerned? Think about that. Plus, they say in their application they have since drained the pond believed to have drawn the wild ducks. That's what I talked about earlier. That brought the virus onto the property. The CFIA must file its response to the Supreme Court by October 3rd, and the farmers will have a further 2 days to complete their response to the government's arguments. Man, the decision by the Supreme Court to grant the stay does not mean the justice will hear the farmers' case. The justices, see, they're probably going to, because now everybody's hearing about it. So I think it's going to work out for the best. But see, this is why the government wants to control social media, man. The justices typically take 1 to 3 months to decide on whether such an appeal will be heard, but they don't give their reason. Why is he talking so much about the justice? I don't care. Like I'm just trying to, let's see, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's see. Last year the courts agreed to, okay, see, same thing, man. Guys, it's like AI writes one article and then a bunch of different news things just use that same one. Let's see. So the RCMP, which have repeatedly pointed out that they are only there to facilitate the work of the inspection agency, said protesters have been peaceful. But they issued a news release Wednesday stating that they were investigating a suspicious fire started before dawn that morning. So yeah, so there was a crazy fire that started. To me, somebody who's protesting the ostriches would not start a fire. Someone had set fire to some of the hundreds of hay bales stacked into makeshift pens on the farm, Mountie said. Maybe they're just trying to cause problems for the agency that's there. I don't know. Spokeswoman for the farm, who had briefly was arrested Tuesday with her mother, told the Globe and Mail that she and her mother and the other co-owner, Dave Belinsky, are still barred from feeding animals. We're trying to work with the CFA to get them to do a better job of it. She alleges that all the camera feeds to the pastures have been cut, so they don't know whether the animals are eating. They are trying to convince CFA agents to stop throwing feed on the ground and to put it in buckets, because that's how they've been feeding them for decades. So it's just kind of some weird stuff, right? So why are they so concerned? Like, why is it such a big deal? I mean, I could understand if it was just happening and they had birds dying and they didn't know whatever and they couldn't figure it out and what's causing it, who's sick, whatever, this and that. We just got to kill them all to stop it. Okay, that would make sense, right? But that was a year ago. 70 died. The rest are thriving, right? So here's the conspiracy theory of why they think the government wants to cull or kill these ostriches is because of big pharma, right? They want to kill the ostriches because they have antibodies against COVID, and they don't want that to get out because then that's gonna cost big pharma a bunch of money. Oh my gosh. All right, Edgewood, British Columbia, a rural ostrich farm conducting cutting-edge virus research is at the center of a growing controversy and what many are calling a government outreach that may be protecting corporate interests and not public health. Which makes sense because, like I said, it's not just happening now. They know what it is. They know what it was. The animals that got infected are gone. And this was a year ago, So obviously they're not sick. Universal Ostrich Farm, run by I'll just say whatever. Run by Karen Esperson and Dave Belinsky, has been working with Japanese scientist Dr. Yushiro Tsukanai, I'm not going to try, to develop low-cost egg-derived antibodies shown to neutralize COVID-19 in avian flu strains. Their innovation antibodies produced in ostrich eggs could offer an affordable alternative to big pharmaceutical products. This is just like the guy who makes like the car that runs off hydrogen. and they murder them. It's the same shit. But now the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has ordered the destruction of their 400 bird flock after positive tests for avian flu were reported months ago. The farmers say their birds are now healthy and no new cases have been recorded since. And how it said in the other article that some people over here, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and stuff, are showing interest. They've offered to take the birds, but they're like, nope. Supporters are pushing back hard. The regional district of Central Kootenay has refused to accept the carcasses at local landfills without up-to-date infection confirmation. Just burn them. Even Conservative MP Scott Anderson has publicly opposed the cull, warning that vital medical research is at risk of being shut down under suspicious circumstances. This isn't about biosecurity anymore. It's about silencing innovation that threatens entrenched interests. The CIFA insists it's acting on public safety. Bullshit! But with no active outbreak and no new testing, questions are mounting. Is this a reasonable precaution or a calculated move to crush independent medical research that could disrupt billion-dollar markets? Oh, yeah. That's what it is right there. It's bullshit. See, this is the kind of crap, dude. When you're young and you're distracted by movies and music and going to concerts and all this crap, you don't pay attention to what's going on in the government. But then when you get older and you don't give a shit about all that stupid shit, you start seeing just, how horrible just all government, every country, all the governments in every country is just shit. How people used to say, like, lawyers are the worst, dude. Politicians are the bottom. I cannot stand politicians. I hate them. I hate them all. Love thy neighbor, unless they're a politician. But yeah, it's just insane. It's this kind of crap right here, though. They make you think that they're helping you. It's just like that Ronald Reagan. The worst things you can ever hear is like, we're here from the government and we're here to help. It's like, you're not. You never are. It's ridiculous. But that's all. I wanted to kind of share that. It's been 40 minutes. I might have to try and edit a little bit out at the beginning of my podcast or something, because this is 40 minutes is long. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you've heard about this. Look into it. Share some support, especially if you're in Canada. Canada, eh? And thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys next time. All right. God bless. Bye.